What, you want a police officer in every building? You want a police officer at every school? You want a police officers at every mall?
You want a police officer
every block?
In every school. Yeah,
well, guess what? We don't have enough police officers to do that. And guess what?
Yeah,
we don't have it. Not only do we not have enough police officers to do that, but Republicans don't allocate enough money, just like they don't allocate enough money for your children's safety.
I know you disagree with Trump and what he's doing with, Russia and Ukraine, but what do you think the solution actually is? How do you actually end this war? If you could, wave a magic wand.
Well, first of all, you have to punish the people that are responsible for this. And to my knowledge, David, you could tell me if you disagree. There has been no accountability for Vladimir Putin. To end a war, you have to find out, number one, and admit how it started. Donald Trump, for a very long time now, he blamed Ukraine. He called Zelensky a dictator. So you're not going to end a war by being complicit. It's very simple. You need a leader that's going to say, Vladimir Putin is the guy that started this, and now he has to end it, and you have to hold him accountable. Example, Donald Trump, I'm going to give him 50 days. I'm going to give him this amount of time. I'm going to give him that amount of time. Well, guess what? Today was supposed to be the deadline for the ceasefire. What has Donald Trump done? Has he held Putin accountable? Any sanctions? The answer is no. So it starts with, don't be a coward, which clearly Donald Trump is. It's why we call him Taco Trump. And hold the enemy accountable, the enemy being Putin.
What do you mean by hold accountable? Could you get specific on what that means?
Well, let's start with some sanctions. Let's start with that.
Well, Biden held sanctions, and it didn't. And he implied they would end the war because they'd cripple Russia's economy, and that was all the way back in 2022.
I understand.
And it didn't work.
I understand that, but I'm saying Vladimir Putin is playing him like a fiddle. At least Joe Biden tried to do something. Trump has done nothing other than attack Ukraine. Joe Biden didn't say Ukraine started the war. Joe Biden called Vladimir Putin what he is, which is a dictator. I never said the guy who you voted for is the guy that said he would end the war in 24 hours. I never said Joe Biden would end the war. This is a very difficult and complex situation. You don't just snap a finger, or as Donald Trump said, all I have to do is pick up the phone and the war will be over. Donald Trump is the guy who said that. I never said that. The war is going to be over. If you have a great leader there, it'll be over in 24 hours or it'll be over. I never said anything like that. The reason why I bring that up is because Donald Trump, David, is the guy that said that. He's the guy who said the war would be over in 24 hours. This is a very difficult situation. You have Vladimir Putin, I think you would agree with me, who invaded Ukraine. He wants their land. He wants to do this to other countries as well. He doesn't care how many innocent people die, whether that be his own or others. And on the day that Trump put in a ceasefire agreement deadline, Vladimir Putin basically says, F you, and some more bombings overnight. So
right, and now, according to what Trump's saying, because of that, he's going to throw more sanctions at.
He's been saying Russia. That for months. He's been saying that for months.
Yeah, and look, my point is that what Biden was doing, I'm not just trying to make it about him, but what I'm saying is what Biden was doing evidently wasn't working. I don't think more sanctions are going to work. Now, Trump's strategy, and you can agree with it or not, is he's trying to bring Putin to the table. Now, you can say, well, that hasn't worked yet. Yeah, I agree. But I'm not saying it is working, but what I'm saying is doing what we've already done under the last administration evidently was not working.
I disagree.
So we have to try a new.
I disagree.
Well, what do you?
So first of all, words matter. Joe Biden at least was willing to call out Vladimir Putin as being responsible for this war and the dictator that he is.
What does that accomplish?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what it accomplishes. First of all, there are a lot of people in this country, because of Donald Trump's language, that think that Zelensky is responsible for this war. Look at what took place in the White House. That meeting with Zelensky was an embarrassment. Everybody virtually all over the world understands that this is not Zelensky's fault. There are a lot of innocent people that are dying because Vladimir Putin refuses to stop this war. And when you have the president of the United States for years that has coddled an evil, murderous dictator, it puts us in a much worse spot now than it was when Joe Biden was president. Now, Joe Biden might have not been able to end this war, but I believe Donald Trump has made the circumstance worse, not better.
How do you figure it made it worse? I mean, it was just as bad under Biden as it is now. People are still dying, and it's not like neither one of them have really accomplished anything significant.
I would say
I'm talking about Trump and Biden.
I would say it's gotten worse because every single time Donald Trump has a deadline, Vladimir Putin continues to kill innocent people. He's making us look worse. He's making Donald Trump look worse. And they're no closer to a deal now than they were on day one. And Donald Trump has already accused Ukraine of starting this war. He's called the president of Ukraine a dictator.
Right. And here's the thing. If he does what, like when Biden came out under his, when he was in office and him and Zelensky were saying, Putin's a dictator, he's an evil person. Yeah, that's great. That sounds nice. It is true, but it doesn't accomplish anything. I mean, you can, and if you're going to, if Trump wants to negotiate with Putin, it doesn't really help if he then goes out on TV and says, you're a dictator, you're a terrible person.
So
is
you're
it
saying,
true?
so
Yes,
your argument
it wouldn't accomplish anything.
So even though you voted for Trump and Trump said he would end the war in 24 hours, your argument is, well, Joe Biden didn't accomplish anything because the war was still going on. That's your argument?
No. Well, first of all, I'm saying he really didn't accomplish anything.
Okay, well, guess what? I'm worried about what's going on right now. Okay, and you voted.
Yeah, that's fine. But
Donald Trump is the president.
Yeah, and he's trying to work this war via negotiations. And again, I agree they're not working.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that it is, but it's a strategy that has to at least be tried. I mean, if that doesn't work, what do we do? Just fund this war forever?
So you think the strategy is put all these ceasefire deadlines on the table, and then when Vladimir Putin breaks these deadlines and he continues to kill innocent people, don't do anything?
Well, no, Trump's not doing anything.
What is he doing?
If you break these,
what has he done?
He said he's going to.
I'm not asking you what he said. I'm not asking you what he said. I'm asking you what he's done.
Well, so far, what he's done is he's continued to supply Ukraine like we were, under the Biden.
How has he punished Vladimir Putin in Russia? What has he done?
Well, he's punished him by supplying their enemy with weapons of war that they're using to fight Russia. That's what.
Okay, but that's exactly what Joe Biden was doing too. So that's what I.
What
has he done differently? What has he accomplished?
So far, virtually nothing.
Virtually nothing. Okay, I'm glad you were willing to admit that. What do you think?
I wasn't pretending that he didn't. I'm saying these things take time, and look, it's possible that.
If these things take time, then why did he lie to the American people and say that it'd be over within 24 hours?
Because clearly he wanted to innote a sense of confidence in people and make them think that he was able to end this quickly because it was going.
So it's okay to lie. So it's okay to lie if it gives people confidence.
That he was lying. He probably really thought he could.
Doesn't that make him? Then doesn't that make him an absolute imbecile? That he thought that he could end this war just by quote picking up the phone? Then you voted for an imbecile if you actually thought that.
No,
don't you think?
No, it makes it.
You think ending the war could have been, you think Donald Trump believes that all he needed to do was, quote, pick up the phone and you could end a war? Don't you think if it was that easy, Joe Biden would have been able to do it? Give me a break.
No, but I mean, come on. Biden clearly was, there's a reason he stepped down. You could make the case that I don't even think he fully even understood he was president. He was so mentally.
Okay, well, when you make a statement like that, you lose all credibility because you have no medical credentials and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Then why did he step down?
First of all, he said he was going to be. First of all, he said he was going to be a one-term president. You're not a medical doctor.
And then he ran for re-election, so that went out the window.
Okay, so first of all, you're forgetting the fact that he did not have a good debate. He was pressured by the Democrat Party, and I believe
he didn't have a good debate. Why? Because he was out to lunch mentally.
Okay, well, again, what are your medical credentials to make that assessment?
I mean, Brian.
So you think Donald Trump is there mentally? You think Donald Trump is there mentally?
Oh, look. He's old, and he's personally, I think.
Is Donald Trump there mentally?
Really
no. That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you if he was too old.
I'm explaining. He's there mentally far more than.
Oh, really? He is
clearly slipping too, but far more than.
All right.
Look, I've seen you say Trump has Alzheimer's. Have you not? I mean, are you a doctor? Can you make that claim?
What I do is I mock people like you because people like you were the ones that were talking about Joe Biden has Alzheimer's because you sound like idiots.
I didn't say he has Alzheimer's.
Okay, you said he's not all there, and you're making the case that. He didn't even know he was president.
Insults, but I'm simply calling them out.
He didn't even know he was president.
You watched that debate. He didn't. That poor old man should have never been forced into that debate, and I feel bad for him because he had no idea what he was doing. Clearly, that was elder abuse. I don't know how people don't admit.
You have no idea what you're talking about. You just make claims that it was.
Watch the debate?
You make claims because somebody had a bad debate that it was elder abuse, and that is David. That
happened to be 81 years old.
And how old is Donald Trump? And how old is Donald Trump? Donald Trump.
He's
all right. Let's go with that. I wonder.
The same problem.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay. Well, Donald Trump said that in the last 6 months, right before he ran for office, actually, right before the presidential election, he said he defeated Barack Obama in the election. He said that George W. Bush's brother got us into the war in Iraq. Donald Trump is the guy that who said you needed ID to buy bread, At times,
Brian, you said he had Alzheimer's, did you not? Or you at least implied?
I made a joke that he has Alzheimer's. I'm not a doctor, but the joke was forwarded towards people like you who think that you're doctors and think that you know the state that Joe Biden was in, and you gave him a physical. Was Joe Biden old? Yes.
This is such a cheap argument. You don't have to know his exact medical record to see when a guy is clearly physically and mentally.
And you
failing.
think Donald Trump is clearly, and you think Donald Trump is up for the job physically? Then why did you vote for him then?
Health.
You're complaining about Joe Biden not being there physically and mentally, and you voted for Donald Trump.
The options. What do you mean? Those were the options.
And you don't think Kamala Harris was physically and mentally up for the job? That makes you sound like a moron.
She was part of the administration that covered for him for years.
Covered for him. How did she cover for him? How did she cover for him?
Because when did she come out and say, yeah, he needs to step down and mentally he's not competent anymore? When did she do that?
When did anybody that has medical credentials that gave Joe Biden a physical, unlike people like you that have no medical credentials at all, ever say that? Or are you just making that assumption just because he fumbled a little bit on television?
If you want to drastically downplay it,
I'm not downplaying anything. All I'm simply saying are the facts. The facts are, sir, the facts are is that you have no medical credentials. Joe Biden's old. Donald Trump is old. The fact of the matter is that you voted for Donald Trump, and your case for that is.
And you voted? Did you vote for Biden?
Absolutely, I did in 2020. Absolutely.
So you voted for a guy who was mentally incompetent and could barely be president.
And where's your evidence that he was mentally incompetent?
Okay, do I have to walk you through the entire debate that he had?
I can give you Joe Biden's
infinite amount of videos.
I can give you Joe Biden's. I can give you Joe Biden's accomplishments, and you could keep making your stupid statements that, oh well, he couldn't put a sentence together. Oh, he didn't know where he was. But yet you voted for the idiot. Okay, the idiot who talks about windmills and Hannibal Lecter. You had no problem doing that. I could give you some of his accomplishments besides the Chips and Science Act. Besides the fact that he had more gun legislation put on the books than anybody else in decades. I can tell you that insulin was capped for millions of more Americans than under Donald Trump, and our economy was in pretty damn good standing when Donald Trump took it over.
No, it
I can give you.
No, it wasn't.
Then you have no idea what you're talking. Then you have no idea what you're talking about.
Is not good. Is not a good economy.
Okay, you have no idea what you're talking about. Then, if you're saying that Joe Biden didn't leave Donald Trump a pretty damn good economy compared to the economy that Barack Obama left Donald Trump, and then the economy that Donald Trump.
Are you going to answer the question?
Well, I was talking and you interrupted me, so I don't know what your question is.
Okay. Well, I'm asking 9% inflation in 2022, 2023. That's a good economy to you?
Are you basing it only on inflation? And you're not basing it on the fact that we have a war in the Ukraine and coming out of COVID. You're only basing the economy on that inflation number. Is that all you base the economy on? Or do you base it on, or do you also base it on some of the lowest unemployment numbers we've had in 5 years, or the last jobs report that came out, which was the worst jobs report we've had in 5 years since December of 2020. But you don't want to talk about that because December in 2020, that was Donald.
But if you want to,
who was the president in December? Who was the president in December of 2020?
That was Trump.
Yes, thank you. But you don't want to talk about that, do you?
What are you talking about? I'm perfectly willing to talk about it. But you can if you want to make the case that the economy under Trump is not good, I completely agree with you. But you cannot make the case that the economy under Biden was good. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
First of all, you don't seem to understand cause and effect. Coming out of a no, you don't, because
dramatically, and people can't afford their household bills.
I'm sorry. What? What did you just say?
I said I understand when prices rise dramatically and people can't afford their bills.
And why did they rise? Because what policy under Joe Biden made inflation worse?
Well, not necessarily. Well, it was really the policies under Trump that Biden just continued, like how we printed an unlimited amount of money.
What policies under Joe Biden made the economy, as you would call it, a bad economy? What policies failed under Joe Biden?
I just told you the policies that were
under
they
Trump.
Didn't start under him,
all right.
But they started
Thank you.
under Trump.
I'm glad you
continued them.
Okay, so Donald Trump, you're admitting to me, even though you say that Joe Biden continued them, but you're admitting to me that Donald Trump. Donald Trump implemented the policies.
Do you disagree with that?
Hold on a second. Let me just finish. You're admitting to me that the guy who implemented the policies that ruined our economy is the guy that you decided to vote for again in 2024. With all due respect, David, that makes you sound bad, really bad.
Well, that's fine if you want to say that.
You voted for him. You voted for the guy that you just admitted self-inflicted wounds that started these horrible policies.
And again, the other party who defeated him in 2020 was the party that was keeping the same policies in effect.
It's not true.
So in terms of the economy, yes, it is. I mean, under Trump, there were trillions of dollars printed.
It's not true.
And that's
First of all, Donald Trump.
Yes, it is.
That's not true. First of all, Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt. That's number one. Number two, Donald Trump did some things in office that did not help the American people when it comes to the pharmaceutical industries and when it comes to taxes. He had some of the biggest tax breaks for the top 1%. Joe Biden did not do that. So you're also wrong about that.
Yeah, but he also didn't try to roll it back, did he? He didn't successfully roll it back, did he?
First of all,
if anything, go on, please.
First of all, Joe Biden implemented plenty of policies that did work. First of all, we had records in manufacturing jobs in this country, some of the lowest black employment numbers we had in decades. There's a lot of things that Joe Biden did, including an infrastructure bill. The guy who you voted for said that he was going to get it done. It was Joe Biden was the guy that actually got the infrastructure bill, bipartisan, by the way, that was able to get it passed. And it was Joe Biden.
So a bill where we just spend hundreds of billions. I mean, nobody seemed to feel that the economy was, people could look, you remember after the debate with Trump and Kamala, where Kamala effectively smoked him in that debate. And then a CNN poll showed that people still felt that Trump was going to be better on the economy.
Well, they're wrong. They're wrong.
Well, you can say they're wrong,
yeah,
and that's fine. But what I'm saying is people were they could feel the heat of how brutal that economy was under Biden. And I'm not saying it's strictly his fault. But what I'm saying is the economy was simply terrible under him. I'm not saying it's better now, but it wasn't good then. And you make the case that it was good under Biden, which it simply was not.
It was better. That's
okay,
the bottom
but was
line.
It good? Because you always implied that it was like a good economy. Are you saying remember you always said better than the G7 countries? You always want to make that point.
Was a better economy than the economy that Donald Trump left Joe Biden.
Economy? Was it a good economy?
We've had better, certainly. We've had better, but it was a better economy.
Okay, all right. You know, I guess I'm not going to get a yes or no answer, respectfully. So I'll take that. That's
depends.
We have had better.
It depends. It depends on what parameters you are using in asking me. But the bottom line is, you just self-admitted that you voted for the guy who implemented policies that tanked our economy, and you decided to vote for him again in 2024. The guy who
I literally just explained to you. I didn't.
What was it about Kamala Harris that you just hate?
She was, because she was part of the same administration.
A vice president does not implement policies, so that has nothing to do with it. She had her own policies that she ran on.
Well, she seemed to support it the entire time under Biden's job.
The vice president's job is not to implement policy. You clearly don't know what policy she was implementing. First of all, she was going to try to get back Roe versus Wade. Second of all, she was going to get more gun legislation on the books. She was going to lower taxes for Americans.
I don't agree with those things. So
well, of course you don't, because you voted for. Of course you don't, because you voted for an adjudicated rapist. So I'm not surprised you don't care about gun safety.
What does that have to do with guns? You think I don't care? What are you talking about?
Because you claim
that I don't care about gun safety.
Because you claim that you care about the
guns away from
Do you care about safety? Do you care about child safety? The number 2 cause of death in children. What is it, sir?
Well, based on what you're telling me, I'm assuming it's gun death.
Yeah, correct. What has Donald Trump done and the MAGA Republicans done about that? And what have Democrats done? Would you like to talk about that?
I'll answer the question. What Democrats tried to do was take people's guns away and take their rights away to own certain guns.
They didn't want to take everybody. That's not true. That's a gross mischaracterization. No, you are wrong, and I'm not going to let you. No, you are wrong, and I'm not going to let you get away with that. What Democrats have been preaching for. What Democrats have been preaching for decades is not they want to take all your guns away. That is a bald-faced lie.
I didn't say all your guns.
But you're not specific. You make generalizations, and I need to correct you. We had an assault weapons ban put in the 80s, and when it fizzled out, gun violence went up. Donald Trump has done nothing. The Democrats want to change the age from 18 to 21, which I agree with. The Democrats want to implement some sort of 1 or 2 hour class that you have to take if you're going to buy any gun, so that you know how to hold a gun, shoot a gun, and store a gun. What Democrats want to do is similar to what you have to do when you get a driver's license. Okay. You have to make sure that you're healthy, your eyesight is healthy, so on and so forth. That's what Democrats have been trying to do. I would also
and they also
agree.
want to ban certain calibers.
Then what are you in favor of then? Name me something.
Well,
give me a solution.
I'll answer that question. But first of all, do they want to ban certain types of guns?
Yeah, I don't think that assault weapons should be allowed. I think that our
that's fine. But you can have that opinion, and that's fine. But my point is, they wanted to ban certain guns for people. I disagree with that. Period.
So what do you agree with? So what should we do? Tell me.
In what context?
In the context of saving lives and gun safety, what are your solutions?
Yeah, we need to actually we need to police the areas better that are where all these people are dying to guns, which again is primarily handguns. Those areas.
Okay, can you be a little bit more? Can you be a little bit more specific than that? So your number one thing, David, on gun control is, quote, just police areas better. You cannot be serious. That's not a serious solution. Give me a serious solution.
Again, you're okay. A serious solution is to look at which guns are killing the most people every year, and then figure out where those killings are happening and police those areas better. Look, I'm not an expert in this subject, but what I'm saying is something like that has to be in effect. I'm not just going to say, yeah. So
if anybody asks me about any crimes that are committed in this country, and my response is, well, you just have to police the areas better, you would laugh at me. That is not a serious solution. That is not a serious solution.
How is it not a serious solution? I mean, those areas need to be policed better, because those handguns in those areas, primarily in cities ran by Democrats, by the way, are the ones where the majority of killings are happening. Do you disagree?
The reason why there are more guns in those areas is because it's a highly populated area. It's got nothing to do whether it's Democrat or Republican. So that's another stupid
but the gun crime was
right-wing
not always that terrible in those areas. That's simply not true.
So I want to get this right. We have some of the highest deaths from gun violence in this country than almost any other country in the world. We also have 140 guns per 100 people in this country. We're a country obsessed with our guns. But when I ask David, what is your number one solution that you think should be implemented tomorrow that will save lives? You said, just police areas better. Law enforcement would laugh at you, okay? They would laugh at you.
Why do you say that?
Because a lot of these shootings are happening. They could happen anywhere. They can be in a mall. They could be in a school. They could be in a private home.
Where do they primarily?
Gun violence happens. The most gun violence happens in high populated areas. When you say police it better, that is such a generalized statement it's just insane. It's not specific. Let me tell you the difference. I'm going to tell you the difference between something that you say, because that is not a serious solution, and something that I say that is very specific. The age should be moved from 18 to 21. Number two, you should have to take a class, whether it's a 2-hour class or a 4-hour class, because I don't want anybody purchasing any weapon if they don't know how to use it and they don't know how to store it. If you sell a gun illegally, it should be a mandatory prison sentence. If you're caught with a gun illegally, it should be a mandatory prison sentence. Our red flag laws need to be stronger. If somebody is sent, like they were sent 86 times to the Parkland shooter's home, that person should not have been allowed to have a gun. The 18-year-old in Connecticut who shot up people in that school at Sandy Hook, the mother taught her son how to use a gun. We have to have stricter laws that if you teach somebody that is mentally ill to shoot a gun, that you go to jail. And the loopholes at gun stores, and I should say, what do you call them? The gun, what do you call them? I'm
not sure what you're...
The gun, whatever, gun shows. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
There are tons of loopholes when you purchase a gun at a gun show.
Yeah, but all those things are not addressing the primary killings from guns. The primary killings from guns are, again, just from handguns in inner cities. And it's not just because the population is high. It's because those cities have become so destroyed and so desolate. They were not always like that. It's not like certain cities that are really bad right now were always super high in gun crime.
Right.
But now they are.
So you need better policing. That's how you lower the gun control. Nothing about guns, nothing about how easy it is for people to get guns and mentally ill people.
I don't want to ban people from having guns. No.
Okay. No Democrat has said that, and that is a lie. And
well,
I'm going
to
nope.
Their rifles?
Nope. You just said ban guns. When you make a generic statement like that, you are making it sound like Democrats want to take all your guns away. You have to be specific.
They want to take some of them away.
Okay. Well, you didn't say that, sir. You didn't say that. And that's why I get frustrated with you.
Again, they want to take some of them away. Do you not agree with that? Because they shouldn't do that.
So you don't want them taking assault weapons away, and your solution is keep all the guns out there, but just better policing. And I'm supposed to take you seriously? You think that's a real solution? Just better policing. What, you want a police officer in every building? You want a police officer at every school? You want a police officers at every mall?
You want a police officer
every block?
Yeah,
well, guess what? We don't have enough police officers to do that. And guess what?
Yeah,
we don't have it. Not only do we not have enough police officers to do that, but Republicans don't allocate enough money, just like they don't allocate enough money for your children's safety. It's the party that you continue to vote for that takes away government programs to make us safer, while the guy who you vote for wants to call people patriots and hostages that beat police officers with their own batons.
No.
Yeah. And your only solution on this very show, and I gave you 6 or 7 of them, your only solution is, while you bitch and moan about Democrats want to take all your guns away, and then I had to make you clarify that because that's not true. Your only solution is, well, we just need better policing, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. A cop would laugh in your face. By the way, that's not a policy either when you say better policing. What type of policy is better policing? Makes absolutely no sense. So you want to bitch and moan, but you have no solutions. You openly admit on this show that Donald Trump is the guy who implemented policy in his first go around that ruined our economy. Regardless of what your opinions are of Joe Biden, you voted for that guy again in 2024. And you want to preach to me about how Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit and he didn't even know he was president because you watch too much Fox News and OAN and Newsmax? You vote for the guy that talks about Hannibal Lecter and windmills? You vote for the guy that wants to plaster everything gold in the White House? You vote for the guy who literally lies to the American people about the big and beautiful bill where 15 million Americans are going to lose their health care coverage? And you openly admit he's done nothing. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Joe Biden didn't coddle to Vladimir Putin. The war might have been going on, but Joe Biden didn't give Putin what he wanted. Putin didn't play Joe Biden like a fiddle, but he's doing that to Trump, the guy who you voted for, on the day of the deadline of the ceasefire when Putin has more airstrikes and innocent women and children die, and yet you sit here and you can't admit that you shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump. That makes you complicit, and you have no idea what you're talking about.